Alright, time for me to come back and do what I get so sick and tired of endlessly having to do. I just can't seem to ever catch a break to allow myself to go and focus on projects that are more of concern for myself and things that I want to focus on, because I always have to come back behind somebody to clear up the BS and to set records straight and to get the real deal of an issue out, just so that a whole bunch of slander and stink talk and phony applications of fault and blame just getting passed around on people who are not deserving of it. So who am I screaming out after this time? Well, none other than that baby mama apologist, Quiz every day. Now, I understand, I don't know because I don't follow this guy like that, but according to what I've been told, is that this man is 50 years old. So after a half a century, I think you would have learned a little bit about reality by now, about real life in this world, and about the situation that affects our community and why it stays in the hellhole and the shambles that it's in. But I guess with age, wisdom doesn't always come, it seems like. It's just that once a simp, always a simp, I guess. And that's essentially what this whole Chris Everyday person is. He's just immersed in simpitude, where it involves defending these ratchet ass black women, because he's one of the cheerleaders and band leaders of that Kara cunt person, regardless of the fact that she even shoved him in front of the train on a number of occasions. I don't know if that just slipped right by him and he just never caught wind of that, or if he's just such a masochist for these types of females that it's all okay for him because, you know, yo ma, do whatever you want to do because you still my black queen and I'm still... What happened? Okay. That little hiccup just threw me off there. My screen shut down and I went into screensaver mode, and so let me go ahead and correct this real quick. But another area where he really shows his simpitude is that he's the chief defender of single mothers. So much so that he tries to distort people's views and opinions as to what they're making reference to when they talk about single mothers. Now see, this guy's no idiot. Just like nobody else who listens to us rant about single mothers is an idiot. They know full well that when we mention single mothers and the plight and the downfall that they bring to not only our segment of a community, which is our main concern being the African American community, but how it affects society as a whole, you know damn well we're not talking about divorced mothers. Everybody who has a brain who recognizes the problems of single parenthood understands that we are not talking about victims of circumstance. What we're talking about when we talk about single mothers and the hell that they bring to a community or to society is in relation to women who make piss poor choices, who don't have any character about themselves, who don't have any self-worth about themselves, who don't highly value their sexuality, and then just throw their legs open to the four corners of the earth, and then they want to, oops, I made a mistake, or I'm a victim because that deadbeat ran off, and number one, who dropped their panties, and who opened their legs? Because it all goes back to the same question I keep asking. Which of the two sexes gets pregnant, ergo gets left holding the bag? Is a man a scuzzbucket for humping, pumping, dumping, and saying, see, you wouldn't want to be ya? Yeah, but he has no responsibility outside of the fact that the law says that if you make a baby with a woman, you have to be responsible. And we put such tight screws on the fathers in these instances that we will allow women to commit outright fraud and declare that some man that may not have had anything to do with her gets assessed as being, that's the father of this baby, he got to pay me child support. Or they use it as a trick to get the man that they want, or however this case is. And all you have to do is just watch any episode of Maury. Here comes Letitia testing the 26th man for her youngest son, Dewan. You know, that's the kind of BS that we're talking about. But since you're on such a big kick of defending single mothers and you chose one of the worst ones to defend, namely, I say this with diarrhea breath, let me set the record straight about Kernel of Wisdom supposedly chasing I say this with rotten crotch off of Google, and so she just has this thing against trying to shout down single mothers, and she just went after I say this with herpes and caused her to be run off of WhoTube. Quiz, If you need anybody to blame for, I say this with foul mouth, getting run off of WhoTube, here I am. Blame me. You can put that basket on my porch, because if anybody ran her off, it was me. Sure, Colonel had a hand, and she had a pretty mighty hand in it as well. However, anything and everything that led up to that scuzzy hoe supposedly getting run off, what she did is she tucked tail and she ran like a little coward bitch that she was, is what happened. See, nobody ran her off. If anybody ran this bitch off outside of myself, she ran herself off. Because she didn't know when to be a person of honor. She didn't know when to keep her big, fat, ugly mouth shut. She didn't know when to stop jacking with people. And as I kept trying to tell her, that you keep doing that and you keep crapping on the wrong people, eventually this is going to come back, bite you in your ass, and you're going to end up looking like a total jackass fool. Which is exactly what happened.
Then, of course, just as you did with me, you started doing the same thing with her, launching the ad hominem attacks. And of course, as I kept telling Colonel of Wisdom and any number of people who actually would care to listen, that a positive thinking, an objective black woman's absolute worst enemy is another black woman, especially the one who the truth is directed at. And so I knew I Say This With Duh was one of those women who was going to be so ripped raw as a result of not only another woman, but another black woman tearing into her ass, forcing her to be confronted with herself, that I expected the Colonel to get ripped apart. But I had absolutely no clue, no idea whatsoever that you were going to go so far and you were going to push so hard as to try to suggest that the two of us were actually the same individual. And so, as a result of that, you have basically thrown into my lap. You just breathed new life into essentially what was a dead topic for me. Because with the wall of rejection, I didn't have anything more to say. But now, as a result of you and you thinking that you were cute and slick, you've actually allowed me to add a few more segments to the whole. And what's unique about it also is that you've not only given the general new material to work with, and particularly on the general Backlash commentary, well, you get to be its star attraction. I Say This With Duh. It's going to be all about you. It's going to be all about you thinking that you were exposing somebody. Well, by the time that we get done, we'll find out who really got exposed.
Because she wasn't of enough strong character to be able to have a heated but at least on the level debate with somebody who disagreed with her worldview. She was one of these people who just saw single mothers as these untouchable goddesses who are just clean and pristine, who must be elevated and placed upon pedestals, and any struggles that single mothers have to go through, well, you always got to blame that nigga. It's always the man's fault. It's, he's the one who got me pregnant. He's the one who didn't wear a condom. He's the one that's shirking his responsibilities. He's the one who's still trying to get into my hole, even though he doesn't want to have anything to do with my kids. Just put all the blame on him. But where was your responsibility? Oh, that's right. You're a black single mother. You have no responsibilities. And so I decided to challenge her on this. I said, look, if you want to ride on this platform, you got to keep it above board. Everything that you keep yelling and hollering, screaming about your ex-baby daddy and how he's not involved in your child's life and how he's still trying to get with you, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with you or your kids, and how he was a bum and how he just became this, that, or the other after the child was born. And I tried to break it down to the hoe to let her know, it's like, look, had you considered the fact that maybe this guy did not want to be a father, or at least not be a father with her, whatever the case was, but had she gone into it with that attitude as opposed to, well, I'm going to make a baby with this guy to keep him around, maybe she wouldn't be up online screaming and hollering and whining and crying and boo-hooing and pointing fingers and tamping her feet like a little tantrum-throwing little brat. Maybe she could have avoided all that, and then maybe she wouldn't have somebody like the general getting up in her face, holding the mirror up to her and saying, hey, this is who and what you really are. Get over yourself. Come to some realization that you are the person who had full control over what happened in this situation. And what she wanted to do, her response was to start screaming and hollering and launching ad hominem attacks and talking about, I can't remember exactly some of the stuff that she wrote about me because she took her site down, but I did screen capture a few things, some golden nuggets, which I don't feel like going around looking for right now, but if put under that kind of pressure, yeah, I will dig through those archives and I will pull some of this stuff up to show you just how bitter, nasty, and vicious and maniacal that this hoe was. But see, she didn't like the idea of somebody, and especially a black man, coming to her, not in her defense, but to essentially shine a spotlight on her face and saying, welcome to yourself. If you need anybody to blame, this is who you blame. You had the panties, you decided you didn't want to keep them on. You had the vagina, you decided you didn't want to keep your legs closed. You had multiple forms of birth control, you decided that you didn't want to use any of them. Now you got hit with reality. Welcome to the club.
And you know what? Who can blame them? Really, who can blame any man out there for not wanting to get involved with a rotten fetid crotch like I say this with duh? I mean, just listen to how she expresses herself and how she presents herself as someone whose username is a radical paradox of everything that she stands for. Listen to this screeching, fraudulent heifer. This is how your girl, I say this with love, says it with love. In her own words. Pay close attention.
Basically, he's blaming when a woman gets pregnant and has a baby that it's all her fault, blah blah blah. I'm like, nigga, if you don't want kids, wear a fucking condom, that's all. I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about. I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about. I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about. Anyway, he just keeps saying the same shit over and over again. I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about. And get real frustrated that it doesn't magically make sense to everyone around him. I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about. And it got to a point when I realized, yo, this dude is crazy. And I don't fuck with crazy people. I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about.
So we see right there, from the very get-go, zero accountability or responsibility for her own personal choices as far as what she does with her sexuality, what type of men that she involves herself with, her reasonings behind it. None of that responsibility or accountability falls into her lap or into the laps of women in general, or in the laps of black women in particular. Nope. Only the one with the penis has to assume full responsibility and take all the blame and all the shame.
I don't need to hear none of that extra shit you talking about.
Is that the kind of woman you want to be with, boys?
So anyway, I go to one of the videos. I don't listen to the video, but, start writing to her to fuck with her a little bit. I don't know, what else am I supposed to do? But I'm sitting in the video, I'm fucking with her a little bit, like, yo, where do you get that voice changer at? Like, asking her, like, I don't know, she is fucking crazy, so I don't know, maybe they would just give it to me. I don't listen to the video. 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 I don't listen to the video, but, start writing to her to fuck with her a little bit. I don't listen to the video to fuck with her a little bit. I don't listen to the video to fuck with her a little bit. Start writing to her to fuck with her a little bit. I don't know, what else am I supposed to do? I'm fucking with her a little bit. 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 Like, start writing to her to fuck with her. I don't listen to the video to fuck with her. I don't listen to the video.
Oh, I see. So, you're just a flagrantly violent bitch who does nothing but goes around attacking people for no other reason than just because you get kicks out of it? Because that's essentially what you just said right here. That you don't bother to find out what anybody said about anything or why their perspectives and points of view are what they are. You just said it. You didn't bother to listen to anybody's videos. You just decided to go over there and just attack. So right there you acknowledge and admit to just shamelessly harassing someone for no other reason than the fact that you're just plain ignorant and that you don't want to learn anything. And that when somebody presents you with an opportunity to actually learn something, you view that as an opportunity to just be an insufferable savage bitch. You've just admitted it.
And it got to a point when I realized, yo, this dude is crazy. And I don't fuck with crazy people. It got to a point when I realized, yo, this dude is crazy. And I don't fuck with crazy people. But I'm sitting in the video, I'm fucking with her a little bit. Like, she is fucking crazy. Start writing to her to fuck with her a little bit. She's fucking crazy. Fucking with her a little bit, right? And I don't fuck with crazy people.
And so, after a whole string of you niggas and you want to let dads off the hook and you're just a deadbeat yourself and every other ad hominem she could launch out of her okole, then she resorted to blocking me. Because she couldn't stand the fact that, oh, I can't just ad hominem this guy and try to throw all these shaming tactics on him and then just expect him to go away like what they call a smacked like a redheaded stepchild. You know, this little savage beast is unrelenting. He keeps coming at me like a damn cross between a Tasmanian devil and a Wolverine mixed with splashes of minks and badgers. I can't get this guy off my ass. Not by saying anything that'll cause him to go away from me. So I'll just block like a little childish little schoolgirl. And so I said, okay, so you blocked General Backlash. Hey, did you know I'm also Kid Brother? And so I keep the conversation going under Kid Brother. Black. I'm like, hey, did you also know that I'm New Talent at 10th? Oops, here comes more of that red ass that, oh, black, I'm not going to get involved with you. And then thanks to your little skirt sniffer, Kara Cunt Breath 100%, getting in on the act and stirring up the shit pot where she had no invite. But she decided that she wanted to get in on this whole little thing once you got this idea that when Colonel came out and said, hey, I want to get in on this too. I want to put my little 2 cents in. Suddenly the idea that a black woman challenging a black woman who's had lived her life irresponsibly and is going to call her out about that can't possibly be a black woman. That's got to be General Backlash. And so came this whole little thing. Anybody who came up against, I say this with rotten crotch, putting her in front of her mirror and saying, hey, you got to accept some responsibility for what you've been doing in your life. You can't just keep holding other people accountable to the things that you've been doing yourself. It didn't matter what name was on there. It was always General Backlash. So some guy comes in, General Backlash. Some girl comes in, General Backlash. The only time she didn't even want to acknowledge General Backlash was when General Backlash was saying, this is me. If you want to know who I am, here's the breakdown. General Backlash, which got shut down because of Kara Cunt Breath, and I had to keep coming back with different variations of that channel name, but I kept trying to explain to her, look, if I'm going to come at you, I'm going to come at you in my own name. I'm not going to make up some ghost account just so I can come and harass you. So what you're going to have to do is you're just going to have to just keep shutting me down until I have no more channels to shut down. Because I don't play those stupid infantile games. But you can best be sure that even if you do shut me down from interacting with you, I will continue to make comments and I will continue to draw people's attention to your BS by uploading videos, again, in my name, not any other name. See, I'm not like y'all frauds out there. I take pride in my online identity. So I'm not going to play those little infantile games like that. With the one exception where I made that mock channel of Kara Cunt Breath 100% because I was trying to get her to come to the realization, it's like, look, when you do it to me, this is what it feels like. But as I said, she called my bluff, she shrugged it off, and I'm like, well, okay, well, the bitch is just psycho then. So she's just that hateful that she just won't respond to anything like that. But of course, she will respond to getting her ass handed back to her when she gets her facts wrong. And that's the only thing that seems to keep her going. But I say this decided that she wanted to play this game and calling everybody who confronted her General Backlash, and she went hog wild with it when Colonel of Wisdom came by. See, they use the same sort of insignia. Well, if you had listened to me, I explained that innumerable times that yes, I took Colonel of Wisdom, or B. Valchan as she was at the time, I took her under my wing because I liked the way she handled herself in online forums, and I said, how you feel about being an online tag team partner? I can be your commanding officer or your CO, Kara, and you can be my executive officer or XO, Kara, since you're such a blithering idiot you don't understand military jargon. And so, yeah, I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that General Backlash and Colonel of Wisdom were a tag team partner, and so I designed not only her splash cards and all these other things, but also supplied her with the name. I wanted to be no mistake that Colonel of Wisdom and General Backlash were an online partnership who went out occasionally doing things together, but more often than not doing things separately. But in any case, if somebody tried to smear one and the other one wanted to come in and get their back, it's like, hey, okay, because you're attacking my friend. And in this case, my friend is right.
because there were things that Colonel and I strongly disagreed on. But see, that didn't end the partnership. We just said, hey, okay, I see things one way, she sees things another way, and that right there should have been convincing evidence enough that we were not the same person. I mean, that alone ought to tell you is like, look, you can tell what Tommy's channels are Tommy's channels because they're all in agreement with Tommy, and every Tommy channel is subscribed to every Tommy channel. It's just blatantly obvious that way. No Tommy channel disagrees with another Tommy channel. It doesn't work that way. Nor does anybody else's channel who has multiple channel names, myself included. You will never see General Backlash disagreeing with Kid Brother. You'll never see Kid Brother disagreeing with New Talent at 10th. Because that's me, those are my channels, and I run them. And my opinions are going to be reflective throughout. Only somebody who's schizophrenic would dare have an alternative channel that they themselves control, that they themselves participate in, that would disagree with anything that they say on another one of their channels. So going on to say that she wanted to spread this rumor and spread all this gossip, and so giving us even that much more reason to come after her ass. But I said, you just keep it up, because you're already putting yourself in a bad light as it is already, number one. And number two, the more you keep slinging your BS about General Backlash, the more I'm going to keep coming after your ass, and the more people are going to be aware of your BS, and they're going to start seeing what the General's talking about, and it's not going to look too pretty for you. But I said, number three, and this is the big one, you stab too way many people in the back. And what's going to end up happening is that you're going to stab the wrong person in the back. You know, these people who come and get your back and try to give you support, so much support in fact, that they've come after me and attacked me and tried to shove me in front of the train and talked all kinds of stink about myself. But I said, you better count your blessings, because you've got people in here who are actually trying to hold you up, who are trying to get your back, and all you're doing is double dealing them and you're stabbing them in the back. You're going to do that to the wrong person at the wrong time, and it's going to be game over for you. And sure enough, out comes Allie Emmett, contacting not me, but Colonel of Wisdom, because she and Allie had a good rapport. At that time, Allie and I were at odds with each other. I didn't like Allie because she didn't like me. And it's not that I didn't like Allie because she didn't like me. I didn't like Allie because she didn't like me for improper reasons. See, she fed into that poison that the Caras and that the Spanish hags and that the pure Butterball spirits or Tweedledum. See, she fell in and got wrapped up into that clique and didn't really realize what she was involved with. She was just so much like you, Quiz, where she was in defense of single mothers, but she was doing it in a blind fashion until she realized that, hey, I can't do this because these people are showing their asses out for who and what they really are. So much so that Allie even came back and apologized to me, saying that, General, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, I didn't understand. I was so emotional about some of the things that you were saying and how you were saying them that I didn't fully understand where you were going with some of this stuff. But prior to that, she and Colonel had a good rapport with each other. And so it was through Colonel that the new stuff came out where I Say This's photograph got highlighted. And of course, being my tag team partner, Colonel's going to alert me to a lot of things, stuff that she alerts me to I could care less about. Some of the things is like, yeah, okay, that's interesting, I'll look into it later. And then other stuff is like, hey, give me that ball, I'll run with it. And in this instance, it was the give me that ball, I'll run with it situation, because Colonel was trying to tell me some of her ideas of what she wanted to say, how she wanted to respond to this, how she wanted to get this out, and I said, let me handle it. Your words, my pictures. And so what we essentially did was like our first video project together, where she said what she wanted to say, how she wanted to say it, and I tried to make it interesting with a little bit of multimedia. But the end result was, we're going to put this hoe's face out there. And the reason we only did that was because when she decided she wanted to get snotty and cockeyed with everybody, she decided to bait Colonel of Wisdom into revealing herself online, which I begged Colonel, don't do that. You're going to set yourself up for all kinds of stink coming your way, which is exactly what happened. But because it happened, I said, okay, my girl took your bait. So since she showed that she's more of a woman than you are, because she would actually answer your challenge, let's see that you're even a fraction of the woman that she is. Let me see if you can do the exact same thing. Go ahead, because Colonel spent like, 4 seconds on that little, just saying, hey,
here I am, and here's my little opening spiel that everybody knows me for, just so that you know that I'm not General Backlash, because anybody who remembers General Backlash in his early days, and sometimes occasionally, on rare occasions, he will put his image up there. He won't show you clearly who he is, but he will show that, hey, this is some idea or some semblance of the person that I am, and that should have satisfied everybody's curiosity right there, but no, you wanted to bait Colonel. Colonel took the bait, and so I said, okay, now it's game on, because I'm going to call you out as a coward. And the reason I'm going to call you out as a coward is because I made several video commentaries about you already, explaining exactly who and what you were and what you looked like and all this other mess. And so there's the challenge. Prove that you're not these things that I said you are, and show that you've got as much of a spine as Colonel of Wisdom. Put your ugly mug out there so let the whole world see. And you don't have to do it for very long. You can do it for the exact same time frame that Colonel did hers. You can just do it for 4 seconds, recite your little opening spiel in that same little squeaky girly voice that you do, and keep it up there for about a week, which was about how long Colonel kept hers up. And then I'll eat my damn shoe and my hat smothered in cheese. Because then I would have been punked. You would have actually scored a point against me had she done that. But see, I knew she wouldn't do it because I knew she was a jack coward. And so, when the word got out that, hey, if you really want to know who this person is, here's her picture, here's her name, we didn't want to get nasty like that. I just said, hey, her picture's enough. Because I want the whole world to see why she's projecting so much, talking about Colonel of Wisdom's looks, talking about how ugly she is or how whatever. I said, okay, here we go. Folks,
This is your girl. I say this with drugs.
yeah, here she is, in the flesh. Oh, and just in case you think that just this one picture is all we've got, here are some more pictures of her. Guys, you've seen Colonel. You've seen this thing. Which one would you rather do? Which one would you rather have under your arms? Which one do you think is somebody that you wouldn't mind staring at for a while? And which one would you just want to throw in the compost heap? And when the word got out, and when the pawnage started flying, and then when all the mirror channels started coming up, because when one got shut down and one got flagged down, the next one would come right back up on somebody else's channel or on a different channel someplace else, or somebody else would mirror it. Then, once we realized there was nowhere left to run, suddenly, I Say This pulls her little disappearing act. But see, that would have never happened had it not been for me. Because number one, I made sure that I helped spread that word around by making a couple of videos. And number two, I made sure that the word got out. Colonel contacted her friends and her little network and saying, hey, here she is. And I contacted my friends in my little network and I said, hey, here she is. Y'all been keeping up with this beef. What do you think? And just like the bitch coward that she was, that I always said she was, she shut down and shut up real quick. And as I said, you keep it quiet, you keep it above board. Like I say, if she wants to keep talking and hollering and smearing me all she wants to, as long as she does it in her little private clique, fine and dandy, I ain't got jack to say about that. The minute you release it public, I'm on your ass like flies on you know what. And I Say This with herpes just got a small dose of what that's like. And you saw how that affected her. So yeah, quiz. If you want to defend this fact that, oh, this single mother got ran off of YouTube, point the finger of blame and shine the spotlight in my face. Because I'm the one who made it happen. Colonel of Wisdom helped big time. Yes, absolutely. But were it not for the efforts and the activities that I did to make sure that it got out like that, and that it was done in an entertaining fashion, then she'd probably still be up there screaming and hollering her stuff. Probably not. Because after a while, she started getting the blowback from everybody essentially making a mockery of her, saying, oh yeah, now we understand why you had to talk so much stink about Colonel of Wisdom's looks. Look at you. Yeah, if I looked like you, I'd be trying to talk bad about somebody else too, trying to make myself look better than what I really am. So, as I said, there you go, Quiz. Blame me, and especially blame I Say This with Rotten Crotch. Because all the blame really goes to her. Because as I kept saying, if she just kept it above board, none of this would have ever happened. So if anybody's to blame, she's the real person to blame. So why don't you go give her a call and spout out your venom at her, talking about how she was responsible for running a single mother off of YouTube. Because that's the one who you really need to blame. But since you don't want to do that, since single mothers are goddesses who can do no wrong, that must be elevated and pedestalized, or yeah, just made up a word. But since you don't want to hold single mothers accountable for their own actions, or you don't want to let them know that, hey, they got to own something, then you can point the finger of blame in my direction. Have at it. I won't mind at all. But since this is all part of your little thing about trying to come and run to the defense of all these single mothers by first trying to get technical about it, by giving this impression that when we talk about single mothers, we're talking about women who have children without men in their lives under each and every circumstance, when you know damn well that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about baby mamas. We're talking about these skanks and sluts and these hoes out here who have no form of self-control about themselves, who for whatever reason decide to spread their legs wide open and just let anything inside of them, and then whine and complain and play the innocent victim when they get left holding a bag that they like, oops, my bad. No, not your bad, your choice. So you want to try to always put all this praise and come to defense for all these women who make these piss poor choices by getting knocked up. And this is like a single mother mantra and everything. Is like, you know, single mothers are these glorious creatures that can do no wrong, that must always be supported and always elevated and lifted up, and they should never be made to feel ashamed about themselves. And so let's just go ahead and lavish all the praise on them. But where is all this praise for the young women and older women who decide not to make these piss poor choices? Where is the elevation of women who say that, look, I value my sexuality so much, not just that, but I also value my community so much that I'm not going to make an irresponsible choice by dropping babies by 2, 3, 4 different men and then putting that extra burden on my community, because it's already in a piss poor state as it is, but I'm also not going to be putting that burden on the welfare system, which is usually what's going to end up happening. And then I'm not going to put that burden on us as a people, because already we've got this stereotype that, it's not even a stereotype. 70% of births, over 70% of births in the African American community are to women with no man in their lives, out of wedlock births. And this reflects badly on us as a people and as a culture and as a community. But you want to defend this horseradish. You want to lavish this all with all sorts of praise, even to the point now where they're actually making songs about all the gloriousness of what it means to be a single mother, or how single mothers should be praised and honored and worshipped. And I'm not just talking about that song by Fantasia where she talks about being a baby mama is a badge of honor. You know, there was never a time in our history where we would ever say anything like that. But you can go to Six Pack Shaker, or Tupac Shakur, or however you want to call him, with his little song, Dear Mama. You ever hear that song? You know, part of his lyrics in this song, Dear Mama, he's talking about how when he was growing up under this, now I don't know if he's telling a life story or if this is just a song that he's making just to be simping up to single mothers, but of course we know his life story was that he grew up under a single mother too, which is why he got all thugged out, because when he realized that, hey, I grew up around women, I've had women as my role models all my life, so I thought this is the way that you're supposed to respect women, this is the way you're supposed to treat women, and then he goes out in the real world and he finds out that no, black women want to be treated like bitches and hoes, like they get called all the time, and so in order for him to get pussy, he decided, well, hey, I gotta switch up my game, and so I gotta go around and I gotta call black women bitches and hoes, even though that's not who I really am, but if I want to get some, I gotta play the game. And so here he is singing this lullaby about how great and honorable single mothers are by, in this song, he's talking about how his mama was not just a crack fiend, but a crack fiend on welfare, and a crack fiend on welfare with not a child, but children, but a crack fiend on welfare with children by different niggas. And yet this was a song of praise, Dear Mama. And this is the horseradish that we're screaming and hollering out against. We've got nothing against single mothers if they are victims of circumstance. If a woman had a baby in a marital relationship and her husband dies in a car wreck or on a job accident, we don't throw her in front of the train. If a woman was with somebody and she thought that they were going to be a couple together forever, and he runs off and hooks up with her best friend, well, okay, yeah, she made some bad life decisions and she could have handled the situation better, but we're not going to necessarily shove her in front of the train either, at least not maliciously. You know, we'll
smack her upside the head. It's like, you fool, in a Gilbert Gottfried sort of a way, just to let her know it's like, hey, you could have prevented this, but okay, more or less you're a victim of circumstance. See, there's a gauge by which you measure these things. And when we got what we have to deal with in our community, where black women are throwing their legs open to anything and everything with a penis between it, because that's how they get their validation, or that's how they think they're going to get a man, or whatever the heck it is, then I'm sorry, you get no praise, you get no honor. You don't get to be put up on a pedestal. You don't get any platitudes or anything of that sort, because you haven't done anything to deserve it. And this is what these gender frauds who run in full support of these single mothers, especially these black single mothers, need to get drilled into their brains, is that there are different levels of responsibility as far as how a woman becomes a single mother. And as I've said on many occasions, you cannot blame the black man or any man for this. Is he responsible for getting the woman knocked up? Absolutely. But as I keep saying time and again, if the willing hole was not there, he would have just had to find a hole in the wall somewhere in order to relieve his stress. Because if black women were locking it down and saying, nigga, you ain't getting any unless you meet these certain criteria, whatever those criteria were, then he would have just had to make do and find another way. And so that way, black women would not be having to be placed with this burden of being called out as skanks, hoes, sluts, irresponsible, stains upon the community. You see, I even had an ex-girlfriend who was a single mother, and even she understood this. Because one of the things she told me, which I was totally shocked and devastated that she would say such a thing, but what she told me was that she was so glad that she had had a little boy instead of a little girl. And her explanation and reasoning behind that was because when he became of age and a baby got made as a result of him getting together with somebody, he wouldn't have to bring the baby home. You see my point? See, we need to get our act together. We need to get our heads together and realize that single mothers are not the be-all, end-all who are just deserving of all sorts of praise and honor. And the people who really need to come to the strongest realization of that are these simp-ass black men. Look, stop trying to buy pussy on this whole trick of, well, I'm just going to give all these single mothers all this praise and all this glory and all this honor, because the fact that they are single mothers is proof positive number one right there that they already like dick. So we already know that that's a reality. So if they have babies, then we all know that not any men are looking for them for real relationships, for permanent relationships. So maybe if I just simp up to them, then they'll be so enthralled and enraptured by my concern about their plight and how I'll just cut down the nigga right there with them for being the irresponsible jerk that he was. She'll start looking to me and seeing me as somebody who can possibly give her comfort in her time of need. We know what the trick is, Quiz. You ain't fooling nobody. Neither are any of you other simp black men out there sniffing all up in the crotches of these black single mothers. We know what your game is. What we're saying is you need to stop playing the game, because pussy is not that important. Because all you're doing by doing that is you're continuing to keep the African American community down in the dregs that it's still in, that it's going to be stuck in, until black women either wake up and realize that they need to start keeping their legs closed, or if black men grow some character about themselves and say, hey, we don't care what you hoes want, we're going to be men of character, and we're going to keep our stuff in our pants as much as it tortures us to do so. But there's a much more important thing that we have to do for the community than to get some pussy. This is the wake-up call that we need. Now, I know I pissed a lot of y'all off. I don't care. But you need to be pissed off, because until you get it together, until you get your senses correct, then ours is always going to be at the bottom of the totem pole. And you can blame nobody else for that. You can't blame white men. You can't blame white women. You can't blame interracial dating. You can't blame the Illuminati. You can't blame the government. You can't blame racist society. You can't blame God Almighty or Jesus Christ, His only begotten. The only person that you can blame is yourself. If you want to change it, if you want to fix it, you know exactly what to do. Will you do it?
let's just say, as I always say at the end of these sorts of rants, I won't be holding my breath. And I don't recommend that anybody else do either. End of line.